If you're over 40, you don't need a ton of different exercises to get in shape. Silly, complicated programs? No. Training like a juiced up bodybuilder? But what we need to make certain of is that you've mastered and always include a few basic movements in your workouts. Once you've hit 40, you're not just training for appearance. It's about staying capable. I remember seeing my dad struggling to get up from the floor in his 50s. I remember seeing my grandfather struggling carrying shopping bags that he was carrying for my grandmother. You need to start protecting your joints and not just maintaining muscle, but actually building it. In this video, I'm going to show you the 3 lifts that you've got to know and why they matter more than almost anything else that you could be doing in the gym. Now, before we get into it, let me explain the reasoning behind my choices. So, all of these movements must train large amounts of muscle and build real-world strength. They've got to be joint friendly when performed correctly and allow progression over years, not months. And they've got to support long-term ability and independence. Because remember, you may be 40 now, but I guarantee in the blink of an eye, you're gonna be 50. And I know that because I'm 51 and about 10 minutes ago, I was 38. So no lifts because they're impressive, just lifts that we can sustain over time. So lift 1 is our squat type movement. Now I choose my words really carefully there because I'm saying squat type movement. It doesn't have to be heavy barbell squats. We've got to always make sure that we're making decisions based upon how the exercise functions, not some outdated bro theories. It's the movement that's important, not how we choose to perform it. So this means that it could be goblet squats or leg press machine squats. It could be hack squats using a barbell or a machine. Even single leg bench step-ups with or without a weight. And why is it such an important movement? Well, the squat pattern trains, and I say squat pattern, not squats, squat pattern trains the quadriceps, the glutes, it improves your core stability, and also it helps to improve your hip mobility. Now, more importantly, it preserves your ability to sit down and stand up confidently. Now that might sound daft at age 40, but how many times have you seen 70-year-olds that can't do that? Well, you've got to put the groundwork in now. It helps you to climb stairs with strength. And again, we've all seen people struggling to climb upstairs. You want to be the person that's bounding up them 2 at a time. It'll also protect your knees by strengthening the surrounding muscles, which is so important. How many people do you know that have knee problems when they're in their 40s, 50s and 60s? Now, after 40, lower body strength becomes one of the strongest predictors of independence. So, how should you do these squat type movements? Well, you need to be doing 2 sessions per week and about 2 sets per exercise. You can go as low as 1, but remember, if you're starting out, you need to get the practice in terms of getting your form correct. So that's why I'd recommend 2 sets and not 3 sets, because again, you're going to be going into that overwork phase. You don't need to do that when you're in your 40s and 50s. And if you choose to include 2 squat movements, you're going to do 2 sets for each one. And you need to do about 8 to 10 reps. Now, it is absolutely vital that you've got a controlled descent on this, okay? Not just letting your legs go and going down to a squat position. There's got to be absolutely no bouncing whatsoever. Controlled, on the way down, no bouncing, because if you're doing that, it's guaranteed to wreck your knees quicker than jumping off a wall. Now, the entire movement should be pain-free. If you are feeling pain, particularly in your knees, stop, okay? Just remember, this is about looking after your body well into your 70s. So you don't want to be taking risks with this. If you're getting any of that knee pain, stop, check yourself. If it goes away, you might want to carry on, but you may want to skip until the next time. But just make sure you don't have any persistent knee pain. So our next movement, or our next lift, is the horizontal press. And again, I'm choosing my words really carefully here. I'm not specifying that it has to be barbell bench presses. And if anything, I would really encourage you to start to move away from barbell bench presses, certainly if you're in your 50s, as they can really wreck your shoulders. Now, exercises that you could do instead are dumbbell presses, dumbbell incline presses. That's a particular favourite of mine. I've spoke about that in lots of previous videos about why that's such a good exercise. You could do machine chest press. And again, it is really important that you're doing steady, controlled movement with perfect form. And I keep going on about this perfect form, but as you get into your 40s and 50s, steady, controlled, slow movement, perfect form are the things that are going to protect your joints and your tendons as you're working through each exercise. Now, the horizontal press supports shoulder stability, upper body muscle mass, and also bone density, and functional pushing ability as well. So remember, after 40, shoulder care becomes absolutely critical. So thinking about that, if you are doing barbell bench presses, use a grip width that feels natural and not too wide, or, as I've said already, use dumbbells, then you're not going to have that problem. Raise and lower the weight with control and avoid weird elbow flaring. Now, if you're unsure what I mean by weird elbow flaring, I would recommend you get your phone out and just video yourself. Now, if you look like a bit of a wrong 'un while you're doing this exercise, well, that is probably weird elbow flaring. So look at the video, look at what you're doing in it, and just sort of repeat it until you get your form correct, so you're not doing some weird looking exercise. You've probably seen people in the gym doing that. The last thing you want is to be laughing at those people and then you be one of those as well. Now, in terms of reps, you want about 6 to 10 reps. And again, I'm going to say 2 sets on this. You can go as low as 1 like before, but if you're starting out, you need to get your form correct. So just doing 1 set doesn't often give you the amount of practice that you need. Now, if you're doing 2 horizontal press movements, again, you don't have to take them both to failure. Strength with control is the absolute goal. So as I said, you might do 1 to failure and 1 without going to failure, keeping a couple of reps in the bag. You just need to be really careful about not going into overwork. So lift 3 is, and I know you're probably expecting me to say some kind of pull movement. Well, I'm not. So lift 3 is the hip hinge. Now, you might be thinking, what the hell's he on about? I've not heard of a hip hinge. And it is one of those exercises that so many people completely neglect. But it's so important for functional strength and mobility. And remember, we've always got to have in the back of our mind this thing about functional strength. We're as you sort of getting older, moving towards 50, 60, 70, well, that groundwork is laid now, so we've got to keep it in our mind. So hip hinge movements are often mistaken for squat type movements, and you'll see in the video of me, the first hip hinge movement that I'm doing is good mornings. Now, they look a bit like squats, but I'm actually just bending forwards and my hips are coming back as a counterbalance. It does look a little bit like I'm squatting, but I guarantee you I'm not, okay? It's shoulders forwards, bum back, bending over. and it's designed to exercise the lower back. Now, the movement doesn't require particularly heavy weights at all. And if you've not already got a strong lower back, I wouldn't recommend Good Mornings as your first movement of this type. Now, other examples could be hip thrusts, and they're second in the video, Romanian deadlifts, or you can do cable pull-throughs. So lots of different options on this. Now, the hinge movement, it trains your glutes and your hamstrings, and it helps with your lower back stability. And obviously, as a result of that, it's protecting your back. Now, many men over 40 experience back discomfort, not because they're weak, but because they're weak in the wrong places. So a strong hip hinge pattern is going to improve your posture, it's going to reduce your injury risk, and it's going to preserve any athletic movement as well. So how would I recommend you do this? Well, fairly similar to the other two times per week ideally. And again, with this moderate loading, and I want you to be really, really cautious about this. It is not about putting a stack of weights on a barbell and seeing what you can do. You will put your back out straight away. Moderate loading means starting off light and finding something that is working your lower back effectively, but it doesn't need to be heavy weight. Remember, you're going to be bending over or you're going to be picking up from the ground, so the last thing you want to do is put your back out. Now, again, I know I keep saying this, but perfect form is just so important with this one. If you start messing up your form and arching your back and what have you, you're actually not going to be doing yourself any benefit at all. In fact, you're going to be doing yourself damage. So same thing again with sets. I would say 2 sets to get the practice in, and again about 8 to 10 reps. And with this one, I would definitely recommend you don't need to be taking this to failure. It's all about getting the good form and just performing the movement. So again, 1 to 2 reps left in the bag, definitely with this one. It is not about trying to squeeze out the next rep at all. Make sure that you are controlling that lowering phase, because if you're swinging down, that means that when you start to halt the movement, you're putting your lower back under a lot of strain. It needs to be that you could stop at any point throughout that movement. So nice, slow, controlled. Better to go slow and do fewer reps than to try and go fast and squeeze out more. And just remember with this, in 10 years' time, your spine is really gonna thank you for this. So these 3 together cover knee dominant strength, hip dominant strength, upper body pushing strength, and if you build strength in these consistently, you're going to be able to preserve the majority of your muscle mass, and that's what it's about, is about not letting go of any of that muscle mass at all. And you can create a foundation that allows you to add in pulling movements and arm work and conditioning. Now, if you're already experienced at working out, then obviously you're going to have pulling movements in there anyway, and they should remain within your workout, obviously. Now, the 3 movement patterns that we've been through, they are going to form the backbone of your workouts. So you've got to make sure that they're an integral part of every workout program that you do. Now, what about pulling? Well, you may notice I haven't included any pull exercises in there, and it's not an oversight. Pulling is super, super important, but I'm prioritizing the 3 movement patterns that are going to give you long-term strength and function. And that's why I chose the ones that I did. Now, unless you're just starting out, you'll also need an upwards pull, such as pull-ups or cable pull-downs, and a horizontal pull movement, such as rows using dumbbells or barbells. But again, if you're just starting out, the 3 movement patterns that I've spoke about are the most important to build first, and then start adding pull moves in. So if you're over 40 and you want to stay strong, capable and muscular, focus on mastering a squat pattern, a horizontal press and a hip hinge, and train them consistently. Progress them gradually, prioritise form over ego, and you don't need complexity, you need competence. Now, in my next video, I'm going to answer a question that I'm often asked. How heavy should you actually lift after 40? Because lifting heavy is really important, but only when it's done intelligently. So if you're serious about building strength that lasts, that's the one you want to watch next. Anyway, that's it for today's video, and I'm Tommy. This is Six Pack 50, and I'll see you in that next video.